Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Coin Lady channel. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basics. Deaton expects the price of XRP to rise to $10 after winning a lawsuit. However, based on what attorney Dean actually said about the price, I would have chosen a different headline. But here's what I will say. In light of this, I'd want to elaborate on a point I made in passing about XRP's price action in yesterday's video, in which I suggested that maybe I wasn't thinking big enough. It's either going to have a godlike price relative to where it is now, or it will go to zero, which is exactly what I was referring to when I said not long term. I mean, if XRP really is gonna make it and it's still here, say, a decade or 2 or 3 from now who don't, I would imagine if it's going to have that kind of staying power, it would just have some godlike price. There is probably not much of a middle ground if any at all. But what I meant to say was that perhaps I'm not dreaming big enough. Because I've never fully elaborated on what I meant by this, we'll do so now. But I was discussing my pretty freaking short-term forecast for the XRP price. In particular, how much will XRP rise or fall? A good verdict for XRP holders in particular will boost trust in global XRP markets, regardless of whether or not Ripple technically was. To what extent is that true? I mean, where would it leave us, exactly? I also won't claim to have any idea what that figure is. I'm not going to speculate on the market. I was also honest enough to say that I was aware of the possibility that if terrible news did come out, the XRP price might fall. There are several reasons for my optimism. The most likely scenario is that we will receive encouraging news. If I had to make a bet, I'd say that the TOR rules on the summary judgment motions will be favorable, leading to a rise in the price of XRP. However, I did do some reflecting about it today. And I'm going to tell you about it. For the sake of clarity, let's just sidestep the answer for the time being. I come from a completely monetary free background. Nothing I say should be taken as investment advice, and you should not buy or sell anything based on what I say. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. In light of the case against the SEC that addresses the FOMO problem among investors, let's look through this piece pertaining to attorney John Deaton and XRP. Deaton claims that XRP might reach an all-time high of $10. In light of the recent resolution of the lawsuit against the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, prominent attorney and XRP supporter John Deaton said in a recent interview that the value of digital assets might rise to $10 in the near future. Now Deaton wondered why investors would be so harsh on XRP at 48 cents, but so ready to buy it now, when the price reaches $1 or more. He hypothesized that such people might suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out. That's good to hear. Indeed, that is the case. Basically, when something goes on sale, nobody wants it anymore unless it's cryptocurrency or stocks. That's incredible, right? Is it on sale because it's basically the only thing left to eat? I'm interested, but only at a higher price. And in reality, here you are, looking at this. There's this, which I felt offered some interesting insight into the minds of the Flare community at large. Twitter has a great YouTube channel where they talk about all things Flare. This was also posted on the Twitter feed for the Flare community. If you're an investor, you've probably heard the adage, buy low, sell high. That's why it's important to buy when everyone else is negative, when the price is high and everyone is grumbling. It's not easy, which is why so many people fail at it. Investing is difficult because many people attach strong feelings to their money. Examine the basics instead. The construction of what? Is the group supportive of one another? Does the network seem to be active? The clarification that these questions replies provide is invaluable. That, I realized, is a really reasonable point of view. Totally agree with that statement. The content is identical to what I've been expressing. I've been hosting a channel called Dr. Moon's Family Sedan for the entire time. But you know, one of the reasons I wanted to emphasize this particular is because he stated something that I don't see many people say. I've said it occasionally, but practically nobody points it up. Is there a solid community behind a cryptocurrency when we talk about its future? And so this is something that is extremely different if you compare, say, the dot-com bubble and crash to what has been occurring with crypto, which I believe is reasonable to do. One major distinction, okay, two at most. There has been a bubble in cryptocurrency that has inflated, popped, re-inflated, and popped again, but you and I both remember the dot-com bubble and subsequent bust. There was this one huge bubble, and I think at its peak it was worth around $6 trillion. The realization finally dawned, and the joy vanished. The community surrounding equities now is vastly different from the pre-dot-com era, and this is a real consideration that sets the current market apart from the dot-com boom and fall. It's one of the reasons why a lot of coins still have some value, despite their lack of practicality. That's why I agree with what he said about the items here worth investigating that he listed. So maybe some of them still do get to zero at some point, even if they aren't nearly as robust in terms of utility. The point I'm trying to make is that it's more challenging for someone to reach rock bottom if they have people they can lean on. This is why there are more than 20,000 distinct digital currencies. This interaction is fascinating in and of itself. The buy low, sell high principle seems to be common knowledge, though. So it appears simple until you really put your money into something. Even if you put your hard-earned cash into it, the next day it will be worth less than it was before. People have a hard time with it, and if you put more into it than it's worth, you'll just be blessing the next person. This is why it's important to conduct your own investigation. Are the basics sound? That's why lawyer Dean's interpretation is so dead on. So, have a look at this. PDS keeps going. That's why he predicted XRP might break its previous record high of $3.85 and set a new one. But Deaton made it clear that he doesn't think XRP will hit triple digits and instead predicts a range from $2 to $10. Range. Okay, I can see how this works now. When it comes to the triple-digit predictions, however, I can't say that I blame him one bit. And I estimate there's approximately a 0% probability of that happening anytime soon. Nonetheless, if we're talking about the long run, say, a decade, or 2, or 3, who knows what it would take or if he's going to be around the idea of XRP being 3 figures, triple digit, which I don't think is what he was talking about. That doesn't seem completely out there. In fact, if you're talking about the far distant future, I find it odd that XRP wouldn't reach some crazy high price, multi-trillion-dollar market cap, if it's still going to exist decades from now, because the crypto asset class, by then, in my opinion, will be much, much larger. Let me elaborate on why I said at the outset of the video that perhaps I'm not thinking large enough. Why do I believe what Deaton is saying here to be true? Then I realize that I'm not the only one who's having these thoughts. Perhaps he has considered the idea of waiting for quite some time. Even if we don't get the good vibes rolling just yet, I think most of us can agree that we're still holding out hope that they'll eventually arrive. We are aware of this in regards to the SEC versus Ripple case, which is expected to increase the value of XRP. Since the beginning of the SEC versus Ripple case, I've followed it with as much interest and curiosity as you. And here's something I've never mentioned on the channel before, since I can't predict the future. If I had to flip a coin to see if it will reach a new all-time high, which side would I choose? Will it instead fail to set a new record high? Up until this point, I wouldn't have made a choice unless I absolutely had to. However, I would have suggested asking for it. Just hearing this news caused an explosion. Not likely to set a new record high. However, I would have found it odd if XRP didn't reach $2. Perhaps I will be taken aback, but who knows? Even if there were fantastic news, XRP wouldn't be worth $2. But I wondered why we don't get even a few dollars for our trouble. Regardless of whether or not it sets a new record, I'd like to think so. By the way, one of the reasons I thought a new all-time high was less likely even with excellent news was that XRP had never before reached a new high without Bitcoin's assistance. Therefore, I accept that this is the case. That's why I've been there so often and yet can't say for sure that I believe it 100%. Actually, I'm not. That's why I'm eager to read your thoughts in the section below. My thoughts and much of the content of a video I made the day before were devoted to discussing pricing and related topics. Just yesterday, I was writing about how XRP has received an unprecedented amount of media attention. It's as if XRP were the hub of the cryptocurrency world. In terms of social media interest, it's even more closely followed than Bitcoin. It's the second most common term in the field of cryptography. That's what I assume it was. And it was decentralized exchange. I'll have to double check the stuff I put together yesterday, though. However, XRP is currently the most searched cryptocurrency. And really, who could blame them? Because of this, some unknown percentage of Weber's traffic consisted of nuts. I forget the actual percentage. XRP gets out. Almost 7% of all social networking on the internet occurred then. Over 20,000 coins, or over 7%, are being sent to XRP. When I consider all this activity, I think back to March of this year, when account activity reached an all-time high. We also recently had the runner-up and third-place versions of it, as I reported back-to-back days ago. There are literally hundreds of thousands of persons and transactions on the XRP ledger every single day. We've acquired some significant news points on the SEC versus Ripple case, and it's evident that the markets are reacting favorably to this. You might blame the SEC, because it wasn't because of Ripple, but because of the case it brought. However, markets responded well to the positive news surrounding the expert depositions or expert testimony that Judge Torres rolled in at the beginning of March, which was great for Ripple but not so great for the SEC. And if wagering is what took us from wherever we were earlier this year, say, 30-something cents, all the way up to, say, 58 cents, and then back down to, say, 50 or 53 cents as I record this, then consider me impressed. If this kind of activity, people placing their bets, was already visible before the huge explosion, what do you think will happen when everyone on the sidelines realizes what's happening? Do you anticipate their next move? Since people tend to act in predictable ways, people will likely join in if the hype builds. The big question is, how far can this go? So far, and for the majority of the last couple of years, roughly what I've thought about this is okay, if we get good news, I don't know, I'd love to see new Altair, my largest crypto holding, my favorite cryptocurrency is XRP. But I was attempting to be straightforward and honest. If I had to wager, I would say no, and that's what got me wondering. But now I'm starting to wonder if that's really true. To be perfectly frank, I'm not sure if that's true. In spite of my ambivalence, I must admit that the more time I spend reading your coverage on XRP, the more I find it interesting. Absolutely, yes. But there's the crucial problem I brought up a few minutes ago that I can't seem to get past. XRP is never operated in such a fashion without Bitcoin's assistance. And Bitcoin isn't exactly working correctly, the second, so if we get it, maybe it will start running a bit to some degree before this happens. And well, maybe in that case. However, if XRP is the topic at hand, it should by itself. I don't know, but I'm leaning more in that direction today than I was before, when I thought we wouldn't have a new all-time high once the market got rolling. The price wouldn't be held down so low in the first place. For this reason, I continue to hold out hope that the market will reach a new all-time high at some unspecified period in the future. I think we're about to enter the price discovery phase. The only question is whether this would serve as the impetus. Thus, I still have some measure of doubt. The thought crosses my mind, though, that perhaps I am not dreaming large enough. Perhaps the range between $2 and $10 that attorney Deaton has mentioned is more realistic. I'm aware of how broad the spectrum is. It's not a crazy idea, though. Like, if we get some good news and XRP goes up to $10, we'll know what happened. That won't strike me as odd at all. I won't be taken aback or surprised. I have no idea what will occur. My point is that. That's why I'm wondering about it. Again, that's why I want to talk about this again, today, with all of this additional information coming out in terms of all of the on-chain metrics that are being released. I'm very open to being persuaded if you've got some additional facts or on-chain metrics to consider historical activity that maybe I haven't thought of, let me know. I always think it's a fun topic of conversation. This is just not the norm, regular folks, please don't take it that way. On top of all that, this year has seen a significant increase in new XRP accounts. By any measure, things are looking great. The XRP ledger continues to operate normally. It's really quite remarkable. Considering that, 2021 was the predetermined date that many people were predicting 2.5 years ago. Talk to him cryptos by market cap, there are some who are forecasting XRP was gonna go to zero. Well, I guess some may have stated it in 2020 at the end, and they're projecting that by the end of 2021, an extra few would be out of the top 10. Those forecasts, however, were horribly off the mark. Consume like a glass of excellent milk, right? The comparison to excellent milk is apt. So, I knew better than to think that I would believe such nonsense. The initial shock of the suit's arrival, when we still didn't know what it meant, made things a little more terrifying. In any case, things started to get a little bit clearer and pretty soon, and we started realizing just how absolutely off base the SEC is once John Deaton came in and other attorneys also thankfully offering their perspective. Since the vast majority of people listening are not attorneys, that should put your mind at ease knowing that the part that was alarming was simply a lack of information. You might be, but the vast majority of us are not. That was the challenging part, but after that terrifying announcement was made and the price of XRP began to tumble, there was one thing I swore I would never do again, go after Ripple. Selling was the one thing I said I'd never do. Since I told myself, no, I'm not going to sell out of fear, I'm going to make a major financial choice without the information I need. No. I declared, I'm getting on that thing. Let's wait and see what develops. And it's okay if it never bounces back. However, I didn't expect that to be the case, given that I knew XRP is used internationally. There are further builders, too. As a result, that provided relief as well. To sum up, it's clear that the XRP price has been artificially low. The SEC may have prevented it from reaching its full potential in 2018, but I have no doubt that it will reach a new all-time high in 2021, the same year when Bitcoin's price began rising sharply. Fine. All this extra waiting around was necessary. However, I feel that this market movement in pricing will occur anyway. The XRP community, more than anybody else, is deserving of that recognition. No, I don't give out financial advice. Nothing I say should influence a purchase you make for yourself, right? And please like and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next one, bye.